Hello and welcome to your background knowledge mini lesson for the coffee caravan lesson. Starting with this graph about pandas that you saw in the diagnostic, I asked you, what does this point represent? And since all of our points are always an x and then a y value, we know that the horizontal is our x-axis, the vertical is our y-axis. So this point right here represents when x equals 36 and y equals 82. And since x is our age in months, that means 36 months. And since y is our weight in kilograms, that means 82 kilograms. There we go. Okay. Next, let's talk about the vocabulary of independent versus dependent variables. So with an independent variable, this in, what that means is not. So independent means not dependent. And our independent variables will always be represented by whatever our x values are. Always whatever our x values are. So in this case, our independent variable is age in months. Then our dependent variable, the variable that depends on whatever is happening in our x, would be our y values. In this case, our weight in kilograms. Okay, then we say another panda weighs 90 kilograms and is 110 months old. So again, since we always have an x first and then a y, we know that 90 kilograms is your weight. So we know that that is going to mean that our y is 90. And 110 is our months. It's going to mean that our x is 110. So we can go on over here to our graph and find 110 on the x-axis, find 90 on the y-axis, and find where those two meet. They meet right there. So this is the point 110, 90. Now we're going to look at a couple of one-step algebraic equations using inverse operations. An inverse operation just means an opposite operation. So in this case, since we have multiplication, we're going to need to use division to isolate our variable. Again, a variable is just a letter that is a placeholder for a value. So in this case, what we're going to do is, since we have 87 multiplying our variable, multiplying our x, and those equal 456.75, we can find the value of x by doing the opposite. We will divide by 87. And if we do it to one side of the equation, we have to do it to the other side in order to keep things equal. So 87 divided by 87 is 1, so we're left with just an x on one side of the equation. And 456.75 divided by 87 is 5.25. And inversely, meaning opposite, if we have division, so right here we're saying some number divided by 4 is equal to 2, then we can use an inverse operation of multiplication to undo that division. So in this case, I can multiply each side by 4, because if I have an x over 4 times 4 over 1, this just cancels out and I'm just left with x on one side, and then 2 times 4 is 8. So I have my answer of x equals 8. And finally, going back to our work with unit rates and proportional tables, we have here a recipe, and the table is showing a proportional relationship between cups of flour and tablespoons of honey. And I was asking you to use your knowledge of unit rates and proportional relationships to complete the table. So I'm going to start with setting up my y over x, and I only have one set or one ratio that I can work with here, but that is a 10 over 8, And if I calculate the value of that and do 10 divided by 8, I get 1.25. So since this is proportional, it's already telling us that means that I can use that value, 1.25, to take all of my x's, multiply them by 1.25 to get my y's. So 20 times 1.25, 13 times 1.25. Let's do those calculations. So that would mean for 20 tablespoons of honey, I would need 25 cups of flour. And for 13 tablespoons of honey, I would need 16.25 cups of flour. So fact families, if I can multiply my x to get my y, multiply my x to get my y, that means I can divide my y to get my x. So on this side of the equation, I can divide. I can say 20 divided by that rate of change, that 1.25, and that will give me my x value of 16. Go ahead and make sure those notes get taped into your Spiral Math Journal, and good luck with your next steps. Let me know how I can help you.